This is the art panel with a bunch of esteemed luminaries sitting huddled together for warmth in the middle, moderated by Ben Ruiz from Flashbang.
Hi, guys. I'm Ben Ruiz. I'm the art director at Flashbang Studios in Arizona. And I'm the kind of art director that actually does work. We're a small studio, so I have to. Except for the dinosaurs we got from Pocket Watch, I didn't do those. I just wanted to quickly thank Robin and Kelly for taking a few moments out of their talk to celebrate you guys. Seriously, you're fucking awesome. All of you, you're fucking awesome. You're so rad. Every year it's cooler and cooler, and these guys are awesome. And that's why we're here. Edmund McMillen, David Hellman, Derek Yu. So because I'm an artist that actually does art, I think about art, and I think about other artists and their position in the game development space. And I really want to break these guys' brains open a little bit and give you a little sniff. So this isn't going to so much be about me. They're way more interesting than me. So I want to get you familiar with their body work a little bit. So go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about what you're working on now and higher profile things you've worked on in the past. Edmund.
Edmund McMillen. I'm currently working on Super Meat Boy, and I've worked on Gish, Timefuck, Coil, Ether, and a couple other games that are fun.
All right, I'm David Hellman. I'm working on an unannounced animation project. I did the art for Braid, some other things. I did... Whoa. Thank you. Please. I did a comic called A Lesson is Learned, but the damage is irreversible. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Derek Yu. I'm currently working on... thank you. Wow. I'm currently working on Spelunky for Xbox, and I've worked on Aquaria with Alec, who you just saw. I did I'm Okay, and a lot of other games, pixel little freeware games.
Awesome. So, what are you guys proudest of? Go for it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a game. Talk about the art you're proudest of and why.
The game I'm probably proudest of is Ether, because it was the most natural design process. It took about 9 days, and me and Tyler made it fairly easily, and it just kind of flowed, and it was personal, and I felt it was good, and it was a kind of like a big step for me in as far as where I wanted to take my work, and I guess that's it.
So you can play it now and you don't feel too much shame about the fact that you have created it in the past.
No, yeah, it's one of the few games that I go back and play and really enjoy and think, oh wow, like this was pretty cool.
David.
I was just asking Derek what his answer was going to be. I don't know. I guess it varies. I think certainly Braid and A Lesson is Learned, the two things I mentioned, on different days, one or the other could be the most. But I suppose, like on a closer view, I guess I'm proud when I feel like I get some kind of unique perspective or take some characteristic or value or something that to me feels really characteristic and descriptive of kind of my outlook, and I managed to put it into something in an entertaining way. So.
Cool. I think Aquaria was definitely probably the work I'm most proud of. It was the hardest one to work on. It was so far. It was the best, I think. It was the one where I felt like I really grew as an artist. If I have ever had like a puberty as an artist, it was during Aquaria. I was chewed up bubble gum when I came into that game, and I don't know. It's just a game that when I think about working on it, it just all kinds of different emotions kind of bubble up, and I don't know. I think that was definitely the hardest, the most emotional, and the best project I've worked on so far. Yeah.
How much of the Seamus McNally experience do you think had to do with the fact that you had created the art for that game?
Oh, sorry, repeat that?
How much of the fact that you won the Seamus McNally with Aquaria, do you feel that had directly to do with the fact that it was your art?
Whoa. I think it did make a big difference. I think graphics in games are really important. And I think it's the first thing that people see usually with a game. And I think when game graphics can really evoke the what the game is all about, I think I don't know. I think graphics are a huge part of it, and they tell a story just by themselves, really. I think to the player if they're done right. So
yeah. Inversely, what are you most ashamed of all your creations?
Like a work that
yeah.
just looks really
What do you
bad
look back on and you're most disgusted with?
When I was doing that comic, there were a few episodes that were just really bad, and often they followed one that was like the best or one of the more interesting ones that I'd done, and there was just no way to follow it up really. So the next one would just be like getting through some crap so you could get back to just baseline and make something new without all the expectations, I guess. So, but when I look back at the body of work, I don't mind that they're there. It provides some contrast, and it's kind of part of the story of when you do something in a serialized form, you're going to have your highs and your lows, and it's kind of interesting to see the contrast. As long as, I would feel bad if that was someone's only exposure to the series. But there were a few episodes. There was a two-parter where the comic was about me and my friend Dale, who wrote Dale Baran, who wrote the comics. And there was one where we were holed up in a house in suburbia with like some kung fu guys attacking the house, and it was really garish and horrible. And for some reason, it was a two-parter, and it was just horrendous. But we got through it, and then we did something like weird after that.
What about you guys?
Okay, this is a big reveal, but when I started making games, I was part of the Click community. And it started on this website run by this middle-aged woman named Silky, and the site was called Silkies. And there was like a web like bulletin board called The Wall, and there are a bunch of other Click developers there who all frequented this forum. And my friend John Perry and I, who was in Black Eye Software with me back then, we made this game called Raiders of the Lost Arse. And it made fun of like every person in the Click community, basically. And it was really just terrible and pornographic. And we released it on the wall, thinking that under assumed names, thinking that people were going to find it and it was going to start a huge thing. And no one even commented on it.
But you cleaned up your act since then.
I have, yeah. I have.
Derek, I would like to present for consideration
no.
document that was obtained at the APE convention. I have here, let me see. I wonder if maybe perhaps Edmund could read some excerpts from this.
No.
This is a document. Well, perhaps, Derek, you would read some excerpts. Perhaps I'll be forced to, or perhaps I'll be forced to flee the stage.
I don't know about that.
And Xerox this 100 times and distribute it.
Describe this. What is this?
There's boobs on it.
It's it's a quite dynamic and interesting zine, right?
Yeah, it's a zine I made for the Alternative Press Expo.
And
Show the boobs.
Can I show it?
Yeah, show them.
Show it, yeah.
Show them off.
So the inside page is like some boobs, and Derek signed them for me. So, and then here's a dinosaur with boobs. And this is an ice cream cone licking a boy.
I'm ashamed of that.
Stop there.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not that ashamed of this.
I wouldn't be ashamed. That's awesome.
I'm just trying to challenge your squeaky clean image you're trying to present these
I made
days.
it too
You're
recently
formed.
to be ashamed of it, you know. Yeah, you know, I like to dabble in boobs a little bit.
What about you, Edmund?
It's embarrassing? Most embarrassing?
Yeah.
Oh, I also made zines before I made games.
Yeah, you've been making comics forever, right?
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I was 16, I guess. And I guess I made a horrible poetry book once. And it was
to read an
really
excerpt?
fucking horrible. And it was called A Change of Pace. It was horrible stuff. And there's not many prints made, and hopefully nobody has any, so it's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, will you guys take off your badges? They're sort of jingly.
Oh.
Or jingle them harder. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about inspiration. I mean, off the top of your head, what is the most inspirational thing you've ever experienced?
For me, the most inspirational thing was in high school. We had these, random people come in and talk to the class about what they do and whatever else. And there was this guy named Clay Butler who was an independent artist. And it was when I was a freshman in high school. And he had his own, it was called Sidewalk Bubblegum, his old comic strip that he got in a couple different papers. And his stuff was kind of edgy. It was mostly political stuff. And he also had a show on public access called The Bill and Clay Show where he did claymation. And I thought this guy was the fucking coolest guy in the world. And I wanted to be just like this guy, and I wanted to live the life that he had, and that's all I wanted, and that was the core moment for me, where I just wanted to be independent.
Well, what did he like about him?
I liked that he had so much freedom to do whatever he wanted, and his stuff seemed so awesome. He seemed to just do whatever he wanted and get by.
It's like not having to answer.
Yeah, and that was the appeal. It was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, you know? I was told I could be an animator, but it seemed horrible. And I knew I just wanted to do my own stuff, but I didn't know how. And this guy just suddenly just comes out and is like, oh, yeah, I make my own fucking comics, and I have my own show on public access. And it's like, yeah, I want this. This is what I want. And that's what pushed me. And there's other little things like that where, I lived next door to a guy who did independent comics. I thought it was fucking awesome. And just running into, skater zines and that sort of stuff in Santa Cruz, you just find this stuff, and there's this community of independence, and it just seems so beyond appealing. I needed that, and I wasn't going to do anything else.
What about you, David?
I think it's generally being a receptor for things that things in the world, just having emotional reactions to things, I guess, or having a reaction or aesthetic reaction to something you might see, looking at San Francisco or something like that. And just it's I don't know, just the way I am. I feel like that I need to answer that somehow, and that's by making something. And so it's a kind of way of processing and putting back in the world something derived from some reaction I had. And it's usually, I get excited by art and other artists and by what people are doing, but I feel like it's more like walking around in the world and thinking the world's beautiful, or interpersonal things or things like that have a kind of that sort of thing.
Can you think of a very specific experience, something that was particularly powerful? If not, that's okay. We'll move to Derek.
Yeah, I'll come.
Okay, that's fine. What about you, Derek?
Definitely just my mom and dad, I drew before I could write, and my mom would, she would spend time with me and write the stories for my drawings. I'd tell her what they were about. And my dad, just the first person I drew with, and I spent a lot of time drawing with him. My grandma threw all of his comics away when he was a kid, and he didn't throw my comics away. So I got to give him a lot of credit for that. But yeah, I don't know. He's just been the person that's that I've really just spent the most time talking about art with.
Sure.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, that's cool. How often do you guys feel deprived of inspiration, and how does this affect your games?
Hey, I just wanted to say, I didn't mean to put you on the spot with a comic. It's actually amazing, and I brought it because it's got so many different styles, and each drawing is really crazy and creative and has like amazing details, and it kind of just goes from one like narrative style sensibility to something else, and then there's pages that are just shocking or like really well rendered. So yeah, I wasn't trying to screw you up.
No.
Right.
I mean, I think this whole panel is about surprises.
Right.
So.
I mean, I assumed you would have something to spring about me, and I didn't know what that would be, so I just felt like I had to get this out first.
Well, just this tattoo of you I've got under this shirt, but
Okay.
I was saving that for a later panel.
So was the question about like
Lack of
not being
inspiration.
inspired?
Yeah. When you're deprived of inspiration, how does that affect your games? What do you do about it?
Don't make them.
Don't make them. Fair enough.
Just sort of sit there and like try to grind it out and feel increasingly despairing, and then I don't know. Then you just sort of get through it somehow.
Yeah, I've been stuck in games that I've lost inspiration for, and that fucking sucks. And especially forcing yourself to finish them sucks. I'd like to say just put it down and move on until it feels good. But yeah, no, there's not really an answer.
So it sounds like the kind of thing that maybe you just wait out until it gets better then.
Yeah, I think you got to kind of ride the wave, and if the wave's not there anymore, you got to feel around for where the next one is and take it to the next game. And I don't know. I mean, I regret few things, but one of the things I regret is working on this one game for 3 years, and it really didn't go anywhere. So.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're really not feeling it, I mean, I really can't work on things if I'm not invested in them. There are times where you should just write it out. It's difficult, I think, to figure out when is the time to move on and when is the time where just to write it out, try something else. I don't know. I like to code because it's a different kind of problem, and I think it's also creative, but it can kind of jolt you out and make you out of funk or something.
So you've got the flexibility to go back and forth.
Making a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's one of those things that there are a million answers to, because it's like it's such a nuanced thing that you have to learn a million different ways to adapt to different situations. So it's hard to describe. It's like, how do you play guitar, or how do you, something like that, where there's a lot of sensitivity you develop to different aspects of it. And so you might learn, hey, when I'm feeling this way, I just need to like take a walk. When I'm feeling this way, I need to just do busy work. I need to sort of just organize, or I need to find someone to talk to like work through this idea or something, So it's, don't you find that like you get to know yourself in a million little ways that you kind of like are getting closer and closer to being able to kind of be a vessel for your intentions. You know what I mean? Like you kind of figure out little by little, and like you gradually conform more to your actual intentions.
I'd hope that's what's happening.
Yeah. With me, yeah.
Well, I think one of the hard things about being an artist, being a game developer is, and really just being a person on top of all of that, is just figuring out what you actually like. I think what you really like, because there are all these pressures, kind of external pressures, and I think it's easier for some people than others. Like I think some people just, they know themselves, their whole lives basically. But there are pressures from family, from friends, what your friends like, and I think these days, especially with the internet, you're kind of, there's so many, you have so much information at your fingertips, so much different art and games and movies and books and everything to look at, that it's actually hard to figure out what is it that I really like, and not only that, what is it that I really want to make, and those things are, can be very different. There are a lot of things that I like that I wouldn't want to make, and there are a lot of things that I like and I might want to make, but I'm just, it's not me, and I wouldn't be suited for it. I wouldn't do a good job at it because of that. I think once you kind of start figuring out why you like things, and then from there figuring out, really focusing on the things that you really like, more than anything else, I think it becomes a lot easier to become inspired. There's like, filtering out the noise, I guess, I think of. I don't know. That's something that is still kind of an ongoing process for me. But
sure. So we're still sort of talking about inspiration. David actually had an awesome idea for a question. How do you feel about all of the artists and musicians who have made great work at a very young age? How does that affect you?
Oh, like we're old and we're making work now? It doesn't really. That's cool.
It's not cool.
I think the one thing.
Well, see, that's interesting because Edmund sounds immune to it. What about you, David?
Well, I just hope I don't waste my life. It's a concern. I don't want to, get to 29 next month and feel I didn't achieve anything. But I mean, no, I mean, it's kind of like sometimes I'm aware of time going by and gee, I really hope I do. I don't know. You can do something I really feel lucky about the projects I mentioned, but still feel as soon as it's over, it's well, what the hell am I doing now? What am I going to do now? And is that going to be it or what?
But that doesn't excite you, the unknown?
Oh yeah, it does. But no, the unknown doesn't excite me.
No.
The unknown. No.
Horrifying.
There's a distinction there. I'm excited by starting to move. So if I see something I want to start to move towards, that excites me. Okay. And I guess maybe there is unknown there, but what excites me is the possibility. And then unknown sounds like blank, void. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's scarier.
No, I know. For me, it's just the fact that I don't have any idea what's to come, and I don't usually plan my stuff out. It usually just comes and I just go with it, and that's the exciting part for me. That's the fight, and that's what I like. Mm-hmm. I don't like the outcome. I hate finishing things because I hate putting stuff out because it doesn't feel good anymore. I love working on it. It's the fight that I'm after, and it's not knowing what's to come and all that mystery is the exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I like seeing things develop and feeling that they're in flux and feeling that I can still change it and it's still going somewhere. When I'm maybe in the middle of a painting, I feel like it's going to be the greatest painting ever made. And then it's done and I go, maybe it's well, I kind of botched it in the end, or I think that did come out pretty well. But when I'm in the middle of it, I can have any sort of delusion at all. I will be the greatest painter who's ever lived. Because of that excitement of seeing things develop and thinking, I just keep following this. I just keep following it, and it'll just keep improving. And I'm seeing dynamics, and I'm seeing how contrast works, and I'm seeing how to create meaning and create feeling. And you just think, I'll just keep following it and following it. But then you have some human limit to your energy, or you sort of actually reach the limit of your ability at the time, and then it's...
Well, then it's done.
Yeah.
It's done, yeah, right.
No, I mean, there is that element of kind of tying it off that is kind of I think actually finishing I kind of think I know what Edmund is saying about finishing, because it's that is the end of the possibility, that's why that's one of the things I like about games, is that I think it's making games to me it feels a lot more like doodling in a sketchbook than even making a comic book, for example, because with games I'm always working on little parts, and you can always feel like you can there's always that moment where you're going to tie it off at the end, but it feels so far away when you're working on it. Whereas with a comic book, it's you're going from pencils to inks, and then once it's inks, it's it feels like it's kind of set. And you have to, you have to have a story that kind of, you don't have to, but it follows a linear progression. And so you kind of have to finish the first part before you know what the next part is necessarily. Whereas with games, I think it's, it can be a lot more organic. And then eventually you do have to just kind of tie it off and put it out there.
I kind of feel the opposite way, but you've done a lot more games, and my comics were all single page comics that were more like paintings in the way I thought about them.
Right.
So I thought of the comic, I felt like it always change. I could change something very late. And I would get ideas late in the process that would make me want to change the composition or make new connections between panels and things like that. But in a game, it feels like because it's so big, you're kind of going into a series of boxes and filling in the boxes, one after another.
Right. But I think, games, because they have these rules and systems in them, you can have these like, you know, tiny pieces that affect the whole game. And,
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's okay. Whereas, you know, if you, you know, in a comic book, for example, if you decide to just change your art style right in the middle, it's I don't know. It feels more to me like, you know, I'm kind of like stamping down one part of the comic after another, and I've
Right.
got to like tie off each piece as I go. Whereas with games, it feels like, you know, this yeah, it's just much more organic. I feel like for me.
Well, Spelunky feels that way. It feels like
It does. I
series
mean,
of
that's kind of how I
discoveries.
worked on it. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. When I release something, I tend to just like I can't. After I tie it off, like I almost can't even like look at it anymore, like in the same way, because it's been tied off, and I know I won't be able to kind of fiddle with it, and yeah, the possibilities are kind of over at that point. So I want to move on to the next.
Yeah, there's
the
a
next
weird
set of possibilities.
the weird like postpartum depression thing that has like once you've completed your project and it's out of your body, and it's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
And there's this weird thing that fucks with your head where it's like it's an emptiness that you don't have. You don't have this thing to work on anymore. It's done. It's not yours, and then everybody else gets to critique it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
maybe
like
how ugly it is.
I feel like you know, with games, with art, yeah, I'm honestly like a deadbeat dad. You know, it's like I make it, and then I'm not there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not there anymore. I'm already moving on to the next, you know, the next kid that I'm going to eventually abandon.
I don't know. I see when I'm ready to release something, then I start to look forward to the feedback, because do you guys enjoy that, or you just feel more like, oh, my relationship to the work's changed, so you know.
I get overwhelmed. I think that's
By the feedback?
by the feedback. Like
Feedback's weird. And
good,
it's hard to
whether
deal
it's
with.
good or bad. I don't know that it's necessarily a negative feeling, you know, to read people's feedback. Even if it's like negative feedback, it's just kind of, I don't know. It feels different from like a different, you know, really separated from kind of the creative process for me, which is, you know, much more personal, much more self-involved.
Yeah, for me it was even I have a love-hate relationship, of course, with everybody who comments on my stuff, but it's the only way I can learn, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm only myself, and I only know what I know. I have not experienced life outside of what I've experienced, and I have no idea what everybody else has and what everybody else thinks. And I get these, even if it's like, this game sucks, blah, 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 because this part's slow, like, I'm getting some sort of idea of how other people perceive things.
Right.
And for me, that's like been the most important thing of me learning and trial and error. It's like you can get the gist of your game's gay, you know, like what could that mean? Oh, maybe it means it's emotional. I don't know. You know, you can gauge what you're kind of doing here, and if the overall consensus is that your game's gay, you know, maybe it's a little too emotional for everybody.
Just out of curiosity, where are you guys most likely to collect your understanding of audience expectations? I mean, you don't have to be specific, but is it blog comments?
Expectations or comments afterwards?
Expectations. I mean, where do you generally collect that?
The internet. Google alerts.
So are you most likely to just Google for any kind of generalized feedback?
No, yeah, I really have Google alerts set up. That send,
okay.
that send
Got
me. That send me like when anybody, and I'm not the only one. Tommy. Yeah. Tommy and I have Google alerts for Super Meat Boy, so
Sure.
if anybody ever talks about it, we get to see what the response is.
Okay, shit. How do you manage all that?
Well, so far it's been really good. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's good to hear. What about you guys?
I mean, when I was doing the comic, we had a forum, so every time we'd release a new episode, there'd be like discussion about it. And my general attitude about audience or fan feedback is, I guess, based on the way I am a fan of things, which is I like to see artists trying stuff out, and like I like to see when an artist seems excited. I don't like even if the artist seems self-indulgent, I kind of like it if he seems to really love what he's doing, and I don't. I value that like freedom in an artist more than like having him repeat something I like or do something I expect. So my relationship to any audience is like I'm very grateful that people read or look at it, and it means a lot to me when they say like you know, that was really good. I feel really good about it. If they say if there's a constructive criticism, I welcome that. If someone just doesn't seem to get it, it cracks me up. Like I kind of like it if someone says like, oh, this isn't the same. Like, you know, you're not doing what we thought you were going to do, or you know, or some if their criticism doesn't like isn't something I can incorporate into my intentions and my overall like values for the work, then I kind of like it, and I kind of get another good feeling, which is like, fuck you, I'm doing my art, you know, and yeah.
So I'm not personally familiar with these forums, but is it people who are most likely to just crawl up your butt and love it no matter what you do, or are people very honest with you when they don't like it?
Did you?
I went there.
They were like, well, there was a fan community, and they were sort of the forums are down now, but there were a lot of people who would read habitually and like became friends on the forum. So it was kind of a little like friendly community that was like, it's like having it's like a little tea party was formed in your living room, and you come out of your studio and they're there and they're like, oh hey, you working on the next episode? And I'm like, yeah, you guys cool? Okay, good. You need anything? Okay, and now I'm gonna go back to work. And so yeah, it was like friendly, but kind of like this funny little side, you know, scene going on.
Where do you get your feedback, Derek? Tell me.
On the on the internet's definitely. I mentioned my dad and I still talk about art quite a bit, and he's never shy about giving me his opinion. I don't know. I do really enjoy getting people's feedback. I don't know. It's just such a separate part of it can be such a separate part of the creative process for me sometimes. Like it's like the act of creating something versus the act of getting someone's feedback and kind of processing it, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the internet's still a great place to get feedback, but I also really value getting face-to-face time with people, whether it's friends, family, or other developers especially,
How do you guys manage rising expectations?
Like from project to project?
Like if you detect a buildup of excitement for something that you're working on, how do you deal with that? I mean, how do you typically respond to it?
Well, the response for Meat Boy has been very positive and getting better. We've responded with more content. Like I remember the first really positive stuff we got. I think we got Nintendo Power or something, and it was really positive. And all I could think of was, wow, we need to add more and make it better, and make it better, make it better. Like if it's already this positive, then we can make it better and just keep pushing and pushing. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's usually two reactions to high expectations, and it's either go for gold and just fucking push it as far, or just go fuck you and then just do something completely the opposite of what is expected.
Sure. What about you guys?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's pretty motivating just to for people to have expectations for the game, and it just makes me want to do the best possible game, really.
I'm curious
I
about
get
the
what
fact...
Edmund was saying about like that guy, that artist that you admired because he just did what he wanted, more or less, or
yeah.
So I mean, I really get excited about defying expectations. So again, the comic was a thing where we did one episode after another, and I tried to make it different, tried to like shake people off our trail in terms of what we were going to do next, and I always liked that. So I don't know. I don't feel like I worry about other people's expectations. I have my own that are enough to worry about. It's kind of like the world outside. Like when I'm making art, it's more that I just want to feel like I'm in the flow of, like I feel creative and it's happening.
How different was that when you were younger? Were you more likely to respond to that?
To outside expectations?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I was younger, I just wouldn't do it. I remember many situations where like a teacher would have me like hey, you're really good at drawing, you should do our poster. I fucking wouldn't do it. Like I couldn't. I can't. Any kind of like high expectations, high pressure thing where it's like no, it's I can't. Like I can't do it. I couldn't do it. But again, I think it goes along the lines of when it's something, when there's a lot of pressure on something that I'm in control over, then I'll fucking do it. Like it's not a problem. I'll just do it.
Sure.
But if it's something else, like that somebody else wants, something specific, then it breaks me. Higher expectations, just I don't want to do it.
It's interesting that people, I think people tend to, I don't know, I just feel like the general kind of audience for games or art or, movies or whatever, they have these expectations, and I think it's perceived a lot of times that when expectations are not met, that it's necessarily negative. Jeez.
Okay, continue.
It's just, I don't know if it's just kind of the internet and, because people have so much access to information, there's just so much discussion going on before something is released, but I don't know. I would like it, I think, if people were more willing to be surprised, if they were more interested in having their expectations completely smashed, So, I mean, the fact that people are interested in something is very motivated, but I agree with David. It doesn't make me want to. It's not motivating in the sense that I want to meet those expectations. It's just motivating in the sense that I'm glad people are excited about it. But I would be happy to kind of, put out something that they weren't necessarily expecting to.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are your guys' favorite chemicals?
Chemicals? Like drugs?
Well,
Not a
not
chemist.
necessarily. It doesn't have to be hard, but if it is, tell us.
I take NyQuil to sleep. Caffeine.
Caffeine?
Derek, please have something awesome.
I don't know, just like injecting snake's venom into my eyes. No, I don't. I don't even drink caffeine. It just doesn't do anything for me. Just, coffee just really just makes me need to pee. I mean, it doesn't help with the creative process at all. So sleep honestly is I think
My drug.
is my drug. Yeah, I need it. I love it. I try to sleep, 10 hours a night if possible. Just to, if I can get away with it, and I can, so I do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really do anything.
Oh, that was kind of a bummer.
What do you
I was
expect?
hoping
you're
for a
gonna say?
cocaine or a meth.
Yeah.
All right.
Cocaine and meth.
What type of creative mistakes do you frequently see other people making that you've already made yourself?
Creative mistakes other people are making a lot that we've made.
Using abstract formulas in games where the users gives up their own interpretation of things as a crutch. I think that's very common. And it's something I've done too, and it's I personally think is an excuse for an artist who's cutting corners.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah, do you have a specific example?
For me, Coil was a game that was left up to interpretation.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And honestly, I didn't really think, hey, I'm just going to leave this up to interpretation. I thought it was speaking, because I was writing it about myself and personal experience, so it spoke to me. But for everybody else, they all had different interpretations. And originally, that was the appeal. And I hated that because it felt like I just obviously sucked as an artist. I couldn't portray what I was trying to say. I was saying something specifically, but then, of course, once people started saying, oh, I like that it's left up to interpretation, I was like, yeah, sure, it's left up to interpretation. I made it like that. But really, I didn't. And like, I think that's something that we see a lot in games. It's an easy, college art house way to do things. And it's just, it's left up, it's weird, it's up to interpretation.
Do you feel like the mistake you just described has ever been done right?
I've been trying to do it right. Time Fuck, I felt like I did do it right, but again, a lot of people were kind of thrown by the humor in it, and they didn't realize that there was actual meaning to the game, and they thought it was just being weird.
Sure.
So what I'm going to do is learn from that and try to, if I attempt something like that again, to try to fix that problem. But yeah, my attempt wasn't to make time fuck vague and left up to interpretation. I wanted it to be direct. But.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Just thinking about that, I don't know. It's a pretty difficult issue because there are, of course, basic issues of clarity, which one can struggle with for a long time. Like when I started doing comics, I would show them to people, and there were always clarity issues. Like, oh, she's holding a telephone. Like just things that were fundamental, that were not communicated. And so it seems like there's actually it actually can take a lot of energy just to get that right. But then the issue of walking that line along ambiguity is a tough one too, because I like ambiguity, but it's different from just not being clear, right? Or being vague when you want to be clear, or like. But then again, it depends on your audience, right? Like some people will look at, like if I write something and then one person might look at it and say, I really don't know what these lyrics are. I don't understand what it means at all. And someone else will say, oh, you're talking about something very concrete, like you're talking about this sort of feeling in social situations when people have expectations, but then they aren't, whatever. Something really clear. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, you got it. And so sometimes it's just a matter of like who has similar enough experiences to really be able to relate, or who is able to look at sort of assimilate some impressions and like come out of it with or who has the patience for it. And it's a hard thing because it could provoke one into like excessive. I don't know. You could probably go wrong a lot of ways, like trying to be excessively clear or like abandoning ambiguity.
But that's the balance, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I think the greater artists are people who have that kind of balance between the artsy fartsiness, the high pretension, and the actual solid gameplay mechanics and everything else, and be able to balance the two and speak clearly enough. It's like my goal is not to get everybody in the world to understand, but for me to feel comfortable with, that most people understand.
Right.
I feel like I'm doing a better job.
But the thing about the audience is when people come to a film or a comic or a game, it's always their expectations play a huge role. So if they are expecting a comedy or something, and it's not funny, they're going to be really pissed off. But if they're expecting like a clear, expectations play. I'm not sure what I was going to say. It's just like expectations make a big difference.
So what's the creative mistake that you perceive in this problem?
I think I just made one. Creative mistake.
The excessive concern for clarity is your point, right?
I don't know. I just think I don't want to say that's a mistake, but you can make a mistake in any direction. So be afraid. No, it's just you can make mistakes when you're in that area. Sure. It's hard.
What about you, Derek?
I think exaggerate your art a little bit. Like actually, when you're drawing, when you're thinking, I think you want to exaggerate. That's why, I don't know, like a lot of the graphics for games these days, as they get more realistic, they actually look less realistic because they don't exaggerate enough, The hands look a little too small or something. I think that's something that's very an important concept in art, is when to kind of pull things into unreality to actually make them feel more real, It's like how sometimes a caricature of someone looks more like them than a photograph of them, is because it captures their, kind of their most prominent features. I think the other thing is I don't know if this is a mistake, but this is kind of something I would suggest, is flip your art. Like just, flip it horizontally in Photoshop.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the easiest way to find out that you don't know anatomy worth shit, basically, or proportions or anything.
I always skew heads to one. Like I always, if I'm trying to center something, I'll always put it slightly to the right.
Yeah.
So heads tend to be like flat on the side or something weird like that.
I don't know. That's a technical mistake that
Well, it's an honest mistake, Derek.
I've made. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Plenty of times, and now I try not to. So.
Yeah.
So maybe. Maybe
No,
the
go ahead,
thing
go
about exaggeration is like drawing attention to things to make sure you get a feeling or get the idea.
Yeah, and I think that's a physical thing. Just physically try to pull your lines like further than you might feel looks right, and also kind of like from in like a mental point of view, do that also. I think you'll it's better to get more kind of expression out of your artwork.
There's this idea I've been talking about a lot.
What's that?
Nothing.
Edmund knows what I'm
It was
talking
really
about.
weird.
So anyway, there's this idea I've been thinking about recently. It's a spectrum with artist on one side and entertainer on the other. On the art side, you basically have I simply need to express myself. And then on the entertainer side, you have I simply need to make something that other people enjoy. Place yourself on that spectrum.
I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. I do what I do for myself, but I don't feel real validation for doing it until other people have it. So I do require others in order to feel okay about what I'm doing and feel validation. Because I could just be making this all up in my head.
It's interesting. I would have placed you closer to the artist side just because you have such a distinct style that never fails to emerge. It's like you can tell an Edmund McMillen game from a mile away.
Well, I
And
mean,
that's awesome.
when I'm making stuff, I'm making it for myself, and I don't think about other people when I'm doing it. But in the outcome is still, I still need that feedback. Like
Sure.
I still require that. I'm not the kind of person that draws an awesome picture and doesn't show people.
Okay.
Because who's to say that I didn't draw that picture? You know what I mean? Like who's to say I'm making this all up?
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. What about you guys?
Well, that's the whole negotiation between, I guess, being whatever you are and then trying to accommodate others. And, I think if you had no concern, I think on the one extreme, what you call artist in this exercise is sociopath. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm just doing what I do. And, like, screw everybody.
And people like that exist. There are people who simply create and they don't give a shit if anyone ever sees it or not.
Right. Now, of course, I'm also being argumentative. If someone makes something purely for himself and doesn't show it to anyone, doesn't mean he's a sociopath. But sort of it taken, it's really echoey. It's weird. I think that I hope to stay true to whatever I need to express. But also you also want, just like Edmund said, you also want people to receive it. But you want them to receive something that's true, not something that you've cooked up to impress somebody, Otherwise, right.
My intentions are selfish, though.
Yeah.
I don't care that other people are really experiencing things, but I need the feedback. Me.
So
I need
you
it
want
come
them to
back
say
myself.
that you did a good job.
No, negative. I just want them to identify. It exists and it's out there, and they're playing it.
There was a sculpture in the sidewalk. I had to walk around it. It exists, but no reaction, no value, judgment, or response.
Yeah.
Just kind of I saw your painting, Edmund.
No, it's
I'm
just
going to get lunch now.
It's not. It's never a direct thing online. It's just usually people comment. They're not even thinking that the creator is even going to read these comments.
Yeah.
But it's just the idea there of this. What I'm doing is my way of communicating with people because I don't communicate with people normally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go around in these things and I don't talk to all these people. So I get to safely communicate indirectly through video games at my house.
Yeah.
And that's why I require that.
Right. But you're happy if people are but if they say that's a great game, that must be good.
Yeah.
For you. Right.
Yes, when people say positive things, it's good.
I'm just trying to feel out what's going on here.
Yeah. No. Sure, that's great. But yeah.
What about you, Derek?
I don't know. I think I probably think of myself more as an entertainer. But, I think entertainment has this kind of crass, feel to it where it just feels kind of crass and commercial, I guess. But I don't know. Even when I'm just drawing for myself, I'm drawing to entertain myself, really. Drawing, I think it's a lot it can be a lot like playing games, It's about, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else to say about that.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Edmund just said something interesting about interfacing with people through his art instead of, the way normal people do. And this was Edmund's idea for a question. I think it's really interesting. Rate yourself on your amount of social brokenness.
No, do you have the question the way he wrote it? Because it was
Oh yeah,
well
yeah.
worded.
The way I wrote it was on a scale of 1 to completely.
Oh no, I mean, I'm
fucked,
sorry.
How
I'm
socially
sorry, Ben.
broken are you?
I didn't write that. Yeah.
No, yeah. The way Edmund wrote it was really like.
I think it was like, in what way are you
Yeah.
socially broken?
Yeah.
And what do you hold to account for this or something?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah.
Discuss.
It was funny. So now we have to answer it. Why
Yep.
did I bring that up?
Sometimes you
If
sit
you don't
in
really feel like you
complete
are, that's
silence.
okay.
Socially broken, like, geez. I think, aren't we all a little socially broken? Yes.
Sure, David.
So, I mean, I think there's like, that's what art
Sure,
speaks
David.
to. It's like the limitations of people and of yourself, and that's something you need that I think about, just the limitations of what people can promise each other or be for each other and things like that. So there are those are just like the interpersonal things that definitely are fodder for art, or just give you something inside that might motivate you to create and like what? No, I'm being sincere. What the hell?
You're cool. You're fine.
What's going on?
Don't listen to them, David. Don't listen to them.
What?
Edmund, when you
How
proposed
broken are you? How broken? The question is, how socially broken
so-
are you on the scale of 1 to 6 or something? And I said, there are like aspects of socializing that provide fodder for art making because of limitations in human beings.
No, that's fine.
Right?
I like your answer.
What is it?
I'm
What does that
not going to give
Forget
myself
what
a number.
happened right there. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
When you proposed the idea, what were you thinking? I mean, what was the basic thought there?
I was hoping that other people would talk about their social issues.
Okay, so
As an artist, knowing other artists and designers, I've noticed that almost every one of them has some quirk to them that makes them broken in some way.
Sure.
Which could account for the heightened sense of creativity and whatever else they have in all those other areas.
Sure.
And I was just trying to open up that kind of dialogue to see. Me personally, I'm not a fan of people. I don't like going out and being around them. I like the safety of my home. I like staying with my wife inside and doing my own stuff. Sometimes I'm petrified to go to these things. I go outside in general, and that's where I am socially broken.
Derek, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can identify with that also. Just, I think, I don't know. I mean, yeah, growing up, I was an only child, and I think only children, they're very good at entertaining themselves, and you really get used to and comfortable with, being with yourself for periods of time, and drawing and doing art and making games and stuff is a great way to kind of hang out with yourself.
Well, yeah, when
So-
you're little, you're alone. Nobody understands the games that you're making up in your head that you're playing. Like I used to line up my Ninja Turtles all around my house, and I had like different sections where those were different levels, and I had Weapon X would go through. Fucking knock them all down, and I did this all the time, and I didn't like hanging out with people because there's no way that they could also understand what's going to happen when the boss comes. Like, you know what I mean? And it just seemed like I'm having a ball. This is fun by myself. I don't want somebody fucking it up, And that's kind of how I was through my whole childhood. It wasn't a lonely thing. I wasn't a lonely kid, but I like to be alone.
Right.
Is it fair to say that you guys are more likely to get your energy from being by yourself versus being with other people?
I like to be alone a lot because I want to work a lot.
Sure.
I feel like I'm always the guy who people are saying, like definitely this week, also because I have a lot of work to do this week, everybody comes into town and is like, hey, what's up? And I keep going, I have to work.
Yeah.
I'll see you later, And so, yeah, and that's typical of me. I'm always like, gotta work, gotta do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually alone when I work, but I require interaction with my wife and to keep me going, and there she is. Now, yeah, without her, I'm quite broken. But yeah, no, interaction with people I love. My niece has been a big inspiration, so I need little bits of socializing with people that I love, and that fills me up personally. But yeah, when I work alone. Well, kind of.
We only have a couple minutes left, so I just wanted to ask one more question out loud, just because I think it's awesome. Internet Rule 34 states that there is pornography for every conceivable subject matter. Derek, talk about this.
You couldn't have asked at a better time, because someone on like Steam chat recently just sent me some Spelunky gay porn that their brother had made. I don't know, and people made some weird stuff about about Aquaria too.
I'm familiar with the Aquaria subject matter.
How do I feel about it? It's fine. Like, I think it's really funny.
Sure.
It doesn't bother me at all. I think the nature of art is that I don't feel like it can be spoiled by people taking something that I've done and perverting it, or.
What if the gay porn thing is bigger than Spelunky?
That's fine. I think that's the whole point of art. By the way, art cannot be pornography, because, let me see, Paul Pope, the comic artist, put it really well, but he said something like, art is like a visualization of an idea, not a depiction of an act, or something like that. Of course, you can define pornography however you like, but art it's about a lack of boundaries, and it's about a lack of boundaries, but it's also about safety, I think, because you can do things in art that can be totally terrible, but it's in the end it is like a conception, it's a visualization or with games it's like a gamization, virtualization of an idea and not an actual
But I thought
act.
sex was a visualization of an idea.
No, I think sex is an act of.
It's an
I think it's a physical
actual.
act.
I've heard of it.
Act.
I think it's an act.
It's an act. It's an act.
Okay, so we're actually, I think we're done, right? Okay. These guys are amazing. Give them a hand.